Testing 1, 2, 3. Warning, the following video may contain adult language and themes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you have a problem with this, stop playing this video now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You had your chance to back out. No turning back now. Hi, this is my review of the movie called Gentlemen Broncos. I don't know if you heard of this movie, but it's basically by the same guys that brought us Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre. I've seen both of those. I think they made some more movies, but those are pretty much the only ones I've actually seen of these guys made. And I liked both those movies. I liked Napoleon Dynamite, and I liked Nacho Libre. And this movie, you probably haven't heard of it, and there's probably a reason for that, because I think it didn't. I may be wrong, but I don't think it got a very wide release, and I don't think it did very well at the box office. And it's just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It's not a bad movie per se. It's just really not good. It's average at best. How would I describe it? I would say the main problem this movie has is that it's so weird. I hesitate to call it quirky, because it's not really quirky. It's more just weird. You know, it's not funny either. It's just weird. It's just completely weird. It almost seems like it was trying to go for that Wes Anderson type feel, but it's kind of hard to explain. It's not like charming like Wes Anderson is, and it's not. Wes Anderson's movies are quirky, but they're kind of a little funny. They have a tinge of comedy to them. This just doesn't. This is just weird. It's almost like the people who made Napoleon Dynamite thought we liked Napoleon Dynamite because it was sort of quirky and weird, and so they're like, well, let's amp the quirkiness up to like 100, and then people will adore this thing. No, it's just terrible. The main character is so incredibly bland. Like, he has like no emotions. I can't think of anything he did where he showed any emotions, or he showed anything other than just being a blank slate. Nothing comes to mind. He may have done something, but I just can't remember. It was so forgettable. Like, Napoleon Dynamite had a personality, you know? He'd act like pissed off sometimes. I mean, he maybe had very basic personality, but he at least had a personality. He'd be like, God, and you're an idiot, you know? And he'd act frustrated sometimes, and he'd fight with people, and he'd like wrestle with his Uncle Rico over stuff, and he actually had a personality, you know what I mean? The guy in this like has no personality whatsoever. I mean, ugh. And it's just weird. The thing I liked about Napoleon Dynamite was that it seemed like a spoof on Idahoans, you know. I've been to Idaho, and I've seen, you know, people who live in Idaho, and it seemed like a spoof on them. It was kind of funny in that way. Like, these people could actually exist, and there were people in your life that were like these people, which made it kind of funny. The problem with Gentlemen Broncos is that the characters are just so over the top and weird and quirky, and just, you could never see these characters existing in real life. It's more like a cartoon than a satire. A cartoon that's not funny. A cartoon that's just weird. So, I mean, you probably know the basic storyline, you know? If you don't, look it up. Basically, this kid just likes writing sci-fi novels in his spare time, and he takes them to some convention, and he meets, like, this weird girl and her, like, friend who's, like, this, I think he's Native American, and he's just also very weird. And, you know, this writer, the guy who's running the conference, I think, steals the kid's idea or something, and it's all about, and the kid doesn't know this, and he has his story made into a cheap movie by the girl and that Indian guy, and he finds out, you know, that the guy who ran the conference stole his idea, and he goes and confronts him, and in the end he wins, you know. And it's just, like, here, let me explain one of the jokes to you in this, one of the jokes, quote unquote, in this movie. Like, when they're on the bus ride to the conference, he's with the girl and the Indian guy, and the girl's like, could you rub my hands with lotion? And he goes, sure. And he just gets some lotion, and he starts rubbing her hands, and she lays back while he's rubbing her hands, and then the Indian guy, who's sitting next to her, leans over into her ear and goes, ee, ee, ee. That's it. That's the joke. How is that funny? That's not funny. That's just weird. If you saw somebody doing that, you just like slowly back away and leave. You know, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" And you just raise an eyebrow. You wouldn't grin. You wouldn't smile. You wouldn't laugh. That's just weird. Like, and let me just mention that the Indian guy who's in this also played Nacho Libre, and I think the Indian guy is, I guess the term would be, I think he's Mexican, I think, or Native American, but I think he's pretty funny. He has a sort of goofy look to him, and he's just very expressive with his mouth, and he's really funny. But he just acts weird in this movie. I liked him in Nacho Libre. He was in Nacho Libre opposite of Jack Black. And another thing about this movie is that this movie doesn't seem like it's even trying to be funny. It just seems like it's trying to be weird. Like, Nacho Libre was quirky and had weird things in it, but at least it was trying to be funny at times. You know what I mean? Like Jack Black flexing his butt muscles. That was funny to impress a girl. That's freaking funny. That's supposed to evoke laughter. Nothing in this movie seemed to do that for me. Oh, God. You know, I almost want to recommend this movie just so I can show you, you know, how bad it is. Like, how a quirky movie doesn't work. You know, I like Wes Anderson movies. You know what? Wes Anderson movies are also another type of movie that specialize in that quirky weirdness. But I think Wes Anderson movies have more heart. The characters are usually deeper. They actually, you know, it's kind of hard to explain, you know, the difference between Wes Anderson and this kind of movie. But I don't know. Just watch it and see what you think. Yeah. And it seemed like this movie was trying so hard to be Napoleon Dynamite. So hard trying to rip that off. I mean, they got the Napoleon Dynamite kid, they got the Mexican friend, they have the love interest, you know, he writes quirky stories, he draws quirky things. It just didn't work. So yeah, I guess I just didn't like it. I think it's average at best. I guess it wasn't terrible, but it was just a waste of time. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye.